Hey guys, it's Core Ross and welcome to Bustin' Rainbow Six Siege. Today we are myth busting the brand new operator Thorn in the new season High Calibre. And she even comes with a new gun as well. So let's go through the basics. She is an Irish operator, 2 armor, 2 speed. Her main gadget is an explosive mine that is proximity detonated, and she is a defender. And a cool little thing about her animation is that she pulls out the pin for her mine with her teeth. But let's move on with the tests, and of course disclaimer here, everything you're seeing here is on the test server, so there's always potential stuff gets tweaked before it goes live. But anyway, let's get on with the myths. Hostage kills are Thorn's fault. So if you use the mine, I was expecting the very simple outcome, just like GOYO, that if GOYO puts his explosive canister close enough to a hostage, it'll be his fault if it goes off. But this didn't end up being the case. It ended up being Osa's fault. And at first I was like, oh, that should not be the case. But I actually forgot something. So it's busted. It's not Thorn's fault. However, that's because I actually did something to change the outcome. So let's go back into what it should be. So what it was is I moved the hostage as Osa, which actually changes the rules and means that if you then end up getting in trouble with a defender's explosive gadget of some sort, whether it be GOYO, shield, or Capcan or something, then it's the attacker's fault. So that's why it failed. If I didn't touch the hostage, then Thorn gets blamed for it, so it is confirmed. And that ends up being perfectly correct. Now, of course, as a Thorn player, if you see a hostage actually get picked up and dropped, you can just drop a mine next to them, and if it goes off, you will win the round. The next myth is a very simple one, but it's going to come in useful later for an additional myth. So glass blocks the line of sight for these mines, which is important to know. There is external windows with glass, and of course there's even some internal windows with glass, and it will stop the proximity detection. And be noted that if the mine detonates right next to a pane of glass, it will shatter it. Again, we're coming back to that in the future, but that is confirmed. It does block the line of sight. Now, while we're talking about detection, let's go over what it actually detects off the enemy operator. So, like Melusi's Banshees, with their original iteration, it doesn't see feet or legs whatsoever, and in fact only goes off when it sees the bum. And only recently was Melusi's Banshees updated to actually detect feet and legs and makes them much more versatile. But certainly this is confirmed. For some reason this mine just does not like legs and will not set off the proximity sensor. Now this gadget is sticky. You can put it on any surface and it'll stick there perfectly fine. But it doesn't actually stick to claymores, which is a pity, like Valkyrie cams do. But this gadget doesn't, and I only say that because it's a large gadget, which means if you were able to put it on the front, it would totally block all 3 lasers and you could stealth through. But unfortunately it doesn't, and maybe they did that deliberately to avoid that kind of issue, but it's busted unfortunately. Now this mine has a very long delay, which means you can simply just turn around and shoot it. You really have more than enough time. Now, of course, you want to know that there's no other defenders nearby that might ambush you. But if you're thinking it's clear, you can literally just pop in, turn around, shoot it, and take it out. And it is simply as easy as that. It has a very long delay, but that's confirmed. I do wonder if they might tweak it in the future, but right now it is super easy to take out. Now, there's also another option, which is just melee it. Because there again, you have enough time to actually turn around and take it out. But to be honest, I recommend just walking right on past it because you can easily just walk at normal speed and get out of the blast radius. Now Nuke for a while was going to have a gadget rework where she could just sneak past all these different traps. And of course we've got to test that here to see if Nuke can get past, and well, no, she cannot. She, even with her ability on, she is just going to set that proximity mine off. And she'd be better just walking a little bit faster and she'd be fine. But unfortunately, busted. This mine has no effect on deployable shields. It's actually a really weird explosive. No explosive in Rainbow Six Siege works quite like this one. And we'll go over more in depth in a minute. But if you vault over this and there's a mine behind it, you can simply just turn around, vault back, and you'll be fine from the explosion. So that's a definite option, and the shield remains completely intact. But yeah, let's actually hit on the destruction, because in Rainbow Six Siege we basically have 2 different types of explosive. One will destroy soft surfaces and every single gadget around it, including bulletproof cameras and all that, and it is, you know, very kind of universal. The only exception is Callie's lance, which does explode, but it doesn't really do much to soft surfaces at all, apart from the hole the actual projectile makes. Whereas this one doesn't do anything to soft surfaces, but it also doesn't do anything to bulletproof cameras, and the only gadgets it actually affects are effectively soft gadgets. However, it's not entirely the case either, because stuff like a Maestro camera with the bulletproof glass open will be fine to the explosion, and we have another one which I'm very surprised there's no interaction with, and that is GOYO's shield. So of course, this has a very weak part that you can simply shoot, and it will create an explosion and a lot of fire. So I would totally have thought that this mine exploding right next to it would have easily caused it to blow, and would have been kind of a cool little combo to actually have with Thorn and GOYO on the same team, but unfortunately it's busted. Now, I've not talked about Thorn's new weapon yet, and it is special because it's a 50 caliber pistol cartridge, and that means, you know, effectively it's more powerful, and they've added that into the actual gun, making it do very similar damage to soft surfaces as the Desert Eagle. So the question of course comes up, can you actually destroy a hatch with it? And the answer is unfortunately no, because what we have here is a lack of ability to actually destroy the wooden beams, and that means the hatch, even if you put tons of rounds into it, stays completely intact, unfortunately. But this gun is definitely a little bit more versatile than your usual SMG, and is going to be interesting to use in live games when it comes out, but that is busted for the hatch. Now with this gadget's long fuse, it's going to be super hard to actually get kills with it, unless you team it up with maybe Melusi's Banshee or Legion's Mines. Even then it's still going to be super difficult, but there is what I think is a very fun tactic, and that is that you can place the mine on a windowsill, so when someone is rappelling up, they will just suddenly get a mine in their face. It's probably not going to kill them or cause any issue at all, really, but it'll scare the bejesus out of them. So I think that is absolutely a fun little tactic to do, and definitely confirmed. Another thing that's fun about these mines that you can't normally do with other defenders is you can put the mines outside. So if you want to, you can try and set up some really cool kills. Again, going to be very hard with the fuse timer, but you can put it outside, even potentially throwing it close to the spawn point of the enemies. So, you know, it's another fun way to play with this gadget, and it's certainly confirmed. Now let's move on and talk about the damage. So this thing can take out a 3 armor in one go at a very long range, but what about shields? Well, the shields do have our damage reduction, but they're costly. So for instance, if Montang is fully extended and within a couple of meters off the mine, he will go down to 64 health, which is quite a drop. So as a shield operator, you do want to avoid taking damage from this mine. You definitely don't want to tank it, that is for sure. And then an operator like Blitz will actually go down to 43 health from one of these mines. So confirmation on the damage reduction, however, you certainly don't want to take any damage from this thing as a shield up. Now, when it comes to something fun, the dragon scale couches in this game are still completely immune to explosives. So even though this thing sends out shrapnel, none of them can get through the couch and actually hurt an operator. Now let's go through a rabbit hole of a test for me, because I thought, okay, the detection doesn't go through the glass window, but what about the actual explosion? Well, apparently it doesn't actually smash the glass window, and I thought, oh, that's cool, maybe I can actually get shrapnel in the glass and actually see it. As you can see on the window frame here, we've got a bunch of different bits stuck into it. But then it started to get a bit more complicated, because I could see shrapnel in the wood of the barricade behind the glass. So the shrapnel, and this answers a question for me. I was wondering if this shrapnel was just cosmetic only, or if it actually did anything, and I'm pretty sure it's cosmetic. Here's another piece in the actual wooden barricade. Again, it has gone right through the glass and not done anything to it whatsoever. So that made me think, can you actually die through the window without the window being broken? So what I've got here is Osa's shield, because Osa's shield here is pretty damn good for this, because you can set it up, you can look through the shield, it doesn't get destroyed with this mine. So if you ever actually want to like check out the mine and see it close up and its detonation, it's a great gadget to actually do these tests with. But yeah, what we've got here is the shield, one of the mines, and then Thorn is going to be our volunteer on the other side of the glass. And we're going to set the mine off and watch safely from behind Osa's shield. And obviously the window is completely intact and Thorn dies. So I thought it was brilliant how Thorn gets killed here, and of course we don't even scratch the window, which I freaking love. However, I am on the Bartlett University map, which has been, lost to time. It hasn't been updated in so many years. So I did think maybe the tech here is kind of not up to date, and I maybe should actually test this on a more modern map. Now, I got a quick one here just to demonstrate that if the mine is close to the glass, it will break it. So there is a little bit of a difference when it comes to just being at point blank range for the glass. I couldn't find anything with like operators, but I thought let's take this to a modern map with modern windows. So a lot of the reworks these days have a big single pane, and I went and checked, and yeah, it did it without smashing the glass again. And yeah, if somehow you can get a kill with this without breaking the glass, that'll be amazing. Also very, very difficult because it doesn't obviously trigger through glass too. So you need an attacker on the other side to set it off and another one outside to die from it. But it would be hilarious. And of course, this means it's busted. The glass does not actually stop the explosion going through, but of course, somehow it miraculously stays intact. Now at this point, I think I've pretty much proven that the shrapnel is just, a visual thing. It doesn't do anything at all. A couple of examples here of it can be improving even further. So we have the canister on Osa's shield. No shrapnel will apparently do any damage to that. And of course, Mira's window as well. It appears even with a physical piece actually stuck in Mira's canister, it doesn't destroy that canister either. So again, it appears to be totally and utterly visual, with it having no impact on damage or anything like that. Now back to detection. So we showed that it doesn't actually detect feet or legs, but I had a weird one here. So what happened was I was going to test damage through drone holes, and I thought I'll get Ash here. She'll go prone, set the mine off, and then stand up, and she'll die to the damage from her feet. And it'll be, very easy to do and simple to test. So got it all set up. I thought, okay, this is going to be, no problem whatsoever. But it ended up being a rather big surprise, and I had to then go figure out why. So the mine just didn't go off, and it could see her body. It should have detonated, and this was definitely a weird one. So the best kind of move for me to do here was to bring Maverick in, because he can make some very accurate holes, and I can figure out what is going on. So at first I made a hole at head height with just the idea of making these different holes at different levels to check the detection of the body when it comes to this mine. So as you see here, we throw the mine up, wait till it goes to solid blue, which means it's armed, and then it'll go to red when it detects his head, and of course that's how it works. So I reset up. This time I had him with his back to me and only his chest and back showing through the hole. And to my surprise, the mine went onto the wall, it started to flash blue, and then it went solid blue, which means it's primed, but it didn't arm. So I was thinking, interesting. So I thought we'll spin him around slowly to make sure there's no kind of weirdness going on, like it can't quite see him or something like that. But that, his body is clearly visible to the mine, and it is not going off. But if he is actually to crouch right now and show his head to the mine, well, it will arm and it will go off. So what we get from that is a conclusion that it detects only butts and heads, which is weird. And the first time we've ever had a gadget like that. We've had gadgets that don't like legs and feet, but now we have a gadget that only likes the butt and the head, doesn't like legs, doesn't like feet. It is a very picky mine for some reason, but that is the way it is. Now there's a few other things I haven't touched on in this video that are just simple stuff like this is a technology gadget, which means IQ can detect it and Thatcher can EMP it. And that ends our Mythbusters for Siege for today, and of course with the new Thorn operator. Some surprises, but also this is just a very simple gadget. There's nothing to really walk away with here. I think overall, I think she's going to be gadget wise very weak, but loadout wise with her weapons very strong, and I think they will need to buff her in the future, probably simply by reducing the fuse time on the mine, and I could easily see them, if they need to, reducing the blast radius, maybe even the damage, but give her like a couple more mines or something like that to play around with. And it would be cool if it did interact with GOYO shields and stuff like that, so she could play around with those, those operators and those gadgets to make some nice tactics up. But she is going to be super strong in coordinated teams. People using Melusi, people using Legion, then suddenly this thing actually does become super lethal, and you could get some amazing combos. But whether you actually want to run both those operators at the same time, we'll have to wait and see. But anyway guys, thank you very much for watching. I'll catch you next time.